Okay, so you're trying to learn JavaScript, and it feels a little overwhelming, right? Well, if you've ever felt that way, trust me, you are not alone. In this explainer, we're going to cut through the noise. We're going to find a simpler path so you can focus on what really, really matters, learning to think like a programmer. All right, let's dive in.
Yeah, that feeling of being stuck, it's super common. And you know why? It's usually because you're forced to juggle way too many things at once right from the get-go. But don't worry, today we're going to strip all that away. We're going to simplify everything and clear that path for you.
And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it all. The most important thing is learning to think. This isn't about memorizing a bunch of weird syntax. No, it's about learning how to think logically, how to break down problems. Once you get that down, believe me, the code itself starts to feel so much easier.
Okay, with that in mind, let's talk about the first big hurdle, the one that trips up so many beginners. It's the environment itself. I mean, sometimes it feels like you have to build an entire web page with HTML and CSS and all this other stuff just to run one little line of JavaScript, right? Well, guess what? There's a much, much better way.
So take a look at this. On the left, that's the traditional way, the browser way. You need an HTML file, maybe some CSS. You've got to open up the browser console. It's a lot to juggle. But then look at the right, the simpler way. All you need is your one JavaScript file and the command line. That's it. It lets you focus on one thing and one thing only, learning JavaScript.
So what's the magic tool that makes this all possible? It's something called Node.js. Now don't let the name scare you off. It's not a new language or anything complicated. Just think of it like this. It's a program that lets you run JavaScript outside of a web browser. It's like a direct line to running your code right there on your computer.
And I mean, look how simple this is. Seriously, 3 steps. You create a file, let's call it hello.mjs. You write one single line of code, console.log hello. Then you pop open your command line and type node hello.mjs. Boom, done. You just ran a JavaScript program. No HTML, no browser, nothing. This is the kind of focus we're talking about.
Okay, so we've got our simple, clean environment set up. Awesome. Now we can move on to the next big piece of the puzzle, storing information. I mean, how do we actually hold on to data in our code so we can, do stuff with it?
Well, the most basic way is something called a variable. And the best way to think about it is just as a labeled box. It's a container where you can store one single piece of data, a number, maybe a name, whatever. But what happens when you need to store more than just one thing? What if you need a whole list? Well, that's where these two guys come in, arrays and objects. An array is perfect for a simple list, like a shopping list, right? It's just a collection of items in a specific order. An object, on the other hand, is more like a profile or a contact card. It's for describing one single thing that has a bunch of different characteristics, each with its own label, like name and phone number. So here's a classic example of an array. We've got a list of weekdays. See how it's just a simple, ordered list? It's clean, it's straightforward. This is exactly what you'd use when you just need to group a bunch of similar things together.
And now here's an object. See the difference? It's not just a list of things. We're describing one single entity, a student. And each piece of information has a specific label, what we call a key, like roll number and course. So, quick recap. Arrays for ordered lists, objects for detailed descriptions of one thing. Simple.
All right, so we can store our data. That's step 1. But the real fun, the real power of programming is making our code actually do things based on that data. This is where logic comes into play. It's time to teach our programs how to make decisions.
And the way we do this is with something called conditional statements. You've probably heard of the most famous one, if-then. It's exactly what it sounds like. You tell the computer, hey, if this thing is true, then I want you to do this action. Otherwise, maybe do something else. This is the absolute core of how programs think.
Let's look at a really practical example, like a grading system. The program takes a score and just checks it against each rule, one by one, from the top down. So let's say the score is 85. It asks, is it 90 or more? Nope. Okay, is it 80 or more? Yep. So it assigns the grade A, and it's done. It doesn't even look at the rest. It's just simple, step-by-step logic.
Okay, let's take a quick breath. We've got our simple environment, we know how to store data using arrays and objects, and we know how to make our code make decisions using logic. Now, what happens when we combine all of that? Well, let's find out. Let's build something fun.
We are going to build the classic game rock, paper, scissors. And this is the perfect first project because it uses every single thing we've just talked about. It brings it all together in a way that's fun, practical, and you can see exactly how it works.
So let's just think about the logic for a second. First, the computer needs to make a choice. And what are the choices? Rock, paper, or scissors. Hey, that sounds like a perfect use for an array, right? So we'll store those choices in an array. Then we compare the computer's choice to the player's choice using a bunch of if-else statements. And finally, we declare a winner. See, it's all just the basic building blocks we already know.
And really, this is the amazing part. Think about it. We have just 3 possible choices. That's it, 3 things in an array. But when you combine them with some simple logic, you can create an entire playable game. That is the power of programming. It's taking simple pieces and building something cool.
So, when you boil it all down, what we've covered today isn't just about code, it's a way of thinking. First, we simplified the environment so we could actually focus. Then we learned how to organize our data. And finally, we used logic to make decisions. Those 3 things, those are the real fundamentals. Now you have the building blocks, so the only question is, what are you going to build next?